Good evening and warm welcome to the news live on Rupavahini Channel I. I'm Sharon Mascarenhas.
Good evening, I'm Lakshita Singha. To start off, let's take a quick look at tonight's headlines.
The President emphasizes that state banks must directly contribute in building the economy. The Presidential Commission on Political Victimization issues notices for former parliamentarians Dr. Rajitha Senaratne, Patali Champika Ranawaka, Arjuna Ranatunga and Anurakumara Disanayaka. Fully recovered COVID-19 patients in the country surpass 70%. Global COVID-19 infected patients exceed 8 million. 7 national parks reopened today. Motor accidents occurring within the past 24 hours claims 6 lives.
On to those and other stories in detail now. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa emphasizes that state banks should directly contribute to uplift the collapsed economy. He further states that state banks have the responsibility of preparing the methodology of implementing government policies, and identifying this requirement, a foremost responsibility of these banks is to take forward the process of maintaining an active economy. The President expressed these views at a discussion held at the President's office today to evaluate the banking activities of the country. The President emphasized that having a two-digit interest rate for loans will not serve to meet with the aspirations of the country. Therefore, the interest rate needs to be brought down to a single digit to assist in the development process. He further stated that state banks should take the initiative to grant the anticipated financial concessions from the farmer to the small and medium-scale businessmen and investors. The President further stated that the economic growth rate of the country, which was between 7 to 8% before 2015, reduced to less than 2% by 2019. And in the wake of the global economic collapse caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, economic growth has further declined. Taking these factors into consideration, the President emphasized that it is one of the responsibilities of state banks to assist in the implementation of government policies for economic restoration in the country. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa noted that representatives from all sectors complained that the banks are of no cooperation. The President noted that the Bank of Ceylon is the first that should implement the policies of the government. He stated that he doesn't request banks to grant loans to his catchers or relatives or to politicians, but to grant loans to the general public, as it is the public that faces the requirement of obtaining loans. The President stated that he does not understand as to why this loan requirement cannot be facilitated, as the requirement is to identify the necessity and implement the process. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa noted that the process does not need to halt due to internal disputes within organizations. He further stated that this process is being carried out on behalf of the country and its people, as a common decision has been taken to serve the public that face requirements. President Rajapaksa also stated that the fallen economy cannot be taken forward in the old way, and to take forward the economy, methods need to be explored as much as possible, as a slow pace is also not suitable. The President noted that in order to come out of this situation, out-of-the-box thinking is needed. Therefore, the President noted that if support from the banking sector is not received, it will not be possible to take this process forward. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa also stated that the central bank should also think in this perspective, together with the commercial banking sector. The President reiterated that without this line of thinking, it will not be possible to build the country. He said that the officials of the banking sector must give consideration to the situation and take the necessary action. The discussion was also attended by Presidential Secretary P.B. Jasundara, Secretary to the Ministry of Finance S.R. Artigala, Chairman of Bank of Ceylon Kanchana Ratwate, and members of the Director Board.
Something that changes your life story. Litro Gas.
You're watching the news on Rupavahini and we're still on local news. The Presidential Commission on Political Victimization has issued notices for former parliamentarians Dr. Rajitha Senaratne, Patali Champika Ranawaka, Arjuna Ranatunga and Anurakumara Disanayaka to appear before the Commission. Chairman of the avant-garde group Nishanka Senadipati testified before the Presidential Commission today as well. Notices were also issued for several others, including former Additional Solicitor General, President's Counsel Vasantha Navaratna Bandara, Senior State Counsel Janaka Bandara, former Director of the CID Shani Abesekara, and former Director General of the Bribery Commission Dilrukshi Vikramasinghe to appear before the Commission. The Commission also ordered to summon for the recording of evidence former parliamentarian Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, former Solicitor General Suhanda Gamlat, retired Senior DIG Ravi Sena Viratna and several other officials. Testifying before the Commission, Avantgarde Chairman Nishanka Senadipati stated that his business collapsed due to acts and investigations launched back then with the intention of incarceration of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa somehow. He further stated that financial loss incurred due to arbitrarily taking hold of his business is over 5 billion rupees. Former Secretary to the Ministry of Economic Development, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, Dr. Niyal Jayathilaka, also recorded evidence before the Presidential Commission today. Dr. Niyal Jayathilaka stated before the Commission that the lost post of Secretary of the Ministry of Economic Development when the good governance regime came into power on the 9th of January 2015. It was also revealed that all the written requests were made of then Presidential Secretary. Steps were not taken to allocate a new post, and he was not given the liberty to retire. Dr. Jayathilaka further stated that he had to continuously appear before the Financial Crimes Investigation Division. The Commission also recorded further evidence from Dr. Nihal Jayathilaka on the 26th of this month.
Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna states that having a dual citizen as a member of the Elections Commission is a major obstacle in holding a free and fair election. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Piris, made this comment at a media briefing held in Colombo today. Professor G.L. Piris stated that dual citizens cannot contest in this election. However, under the 19th Amendment, the surprising factor is that the National Elections Commission, which organizes the entire election process, is able to have a dual citizen as one of its members. Professor Piris states that this member of the Elections Commission has unlimited powers and questioned as to whether such a situation is justifiable. Commenting on the statement voiced by the chairman of the Elections Commission that a green light is needed to go ahead with the deciding on the election, Professor G.L. Piris said that it is an alarming precedent. Professor Piris noted that elections are to be held in many countries this year, which includes the Singaporean elections that are to be held in the days ahead, the US presidential election that is to be held in November, and the elections in New Zealand.
General Secretary of the United National Party, former Minister Akila Viraj Karyavasam, says although certain factions attempt to destroy the party, no one will be able to prevent the United National Party from securing power. The former minister expressed these views at a media briefing held at the UMP headquarters, Sirikota, today. General Secretary of the United National Party, former Minister Akila Viraj Karyavasam, said all efforts are being made to secure the highest possible number of seats in Parliament. He explained that once the highest number of seats is secured, the composition of Parliament can be negotiated to form a UMP majority. He pointed out once the majority is in place, a UMP government can be formed. The former minister further stated, once the majority is with the UMP, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa does not need to govern, as the UMP, once it enjoys the majority, will be able to govern the country and the president can still hold the presidential office. Responding to a question raised by a journalist on whether the UMP will connect with the Samagi Janabala Vegaya, former Minister Akila Viraj Karyavasam said suitable individuals will be accommodated and this is a part of the approach and strategy of the UMP. Former Minister Karyavasam explained that it is through this strategy that a UMP government will be formed and emphasized that it is the UMP that will secure victory. The UMP General Secretary noted that at certain periods of time, certain individuals had the notion that the UMP has collapsed. However, he pointed out that the United National Party is like a giant that has always risen and secured power. He pledged that the party will form strong governments in future as well.
A new invention to control the spread of dengue has been introduced by an 11-year-old student by the name of Janana Satishankar, who studies in grade 7 at Uluvitake Richard Patirana Vidyalaya at Galle. He introduced his new invention to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa at Temple Trees this evening. The new invention has been designed making use of a discarded rice cooker. The student states that this device, which has been painted in black to attract mosquitoes, when plugged to the electricity supply after adding water, destroys mosquito larvae developing on the water surface. The device has been made to automatically activate every 3 days. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa appreciated the attempt by the student and provided instructions to the respective sections on advice and support to be granted for new innovations.
Police Constable Dulitha Yomal Alaperuma, who died in a motor accident, had also prevented an attempt to cash robbery at the Colombo General Hospital, has been confirmed in his post and promoted to the level of police sergeant. The promotion is effective from yesterday. Police Constable Dulitha Yomal Alaperuma, who was attached to the State Intelligence Service, was on duty at the Colombo General Hospital on the 11th of this month. He sustained serious injuries in a motor accident that occurred at Tummula Junction on the 11th of this month. His death was reported yesterday. The acting IGP has granted this promotion considering the extraordinary performance of this apprentice police officer, bringing prestige to the police service.
Meanwhile, a motor accident which occurred in the Palmankad area in Nugegoda last evening resulted in the death of a woman, whilst 2 persons sustained injuries. Hospital sources state that the condition of one casualty is serious. Footage obtained from a nearby CCTV camera records the motor accident in this manner. The accident involved the collision of a Wagon-R motor car with a sports car. The deceased is the lady driver of the Wagon-R. She is reportedly the daughter of film director Chandraratna Mapitigama. Meanwhile, the body of the youth who went missing when bathing in the sea at Katakurunda in Kalutara was discovered this morning. The body, which was floating in the sea area around Lansiavatta in Payagala, was spotted by an area resident and brought to the shore. The youth had gone for a sea bath with 6 others last evening. Meanwhile, 2 youths were drowned when bathing in the Walaveganga in the Valipatayaya area in the Kaltota Police Division. 6 youths had been bathing in the river, and when one of them began drowning, upon seeing the youth struggling, another individual had attempted to save the drowning youth, resulting in both individuals drowning. Meanwhile, a youth also drowned while bathing in the Palugamur Galkissa Anicut in Kurunagala last evening. The youth had been bathing in the Anicut with another 3 individuals, and it is reported that he was under the influence of liquor. At the time, the Anicut was filled to capacity and 8 of its gates had been opened. The 22-year-old deceased youth is a resident of the Colombuatta village. Meanwhile, a road accident involving a lorry early this morning at Kandy resulted in the death of the lorry driver. Our correspondent states that the lorry assistant who sustained injuries was admitted to the Kandy General Hospital. The lorry had collided with the parapet wall of the Kandy police station along Pushpadana Hill Road on the way from Barigama to Biagama. The deceased lorry driver, aged 58, is a resident of Katugastota. More news coming your way after this short break.
Meanwhile, stories here at home: the national wildlife parks that remain closed due to the spread of the coronavirus reopened today. Thereby, 7 national parks were open to local and foreign tourists today. The Department of Wildlife Conservation closed down these parks on the 15th of March due to the spread of the coronavirus. The parks that opened today are Yala, Vilpattu, Udavalava, Minneria, Kaudulla, Pigeon Island and Horton Plains. Visitors need to adhere to health guidelines, and only a limited number of visitors will be permitted today. Meanwhile, safari jeep drivers have been given special instructions. Thereby, only a limited number of jeeps can enter the parks. The Yala and Udavalava National and Wildlife Parks will accept 150 safari jeeps per day. The Vilpattu National Park has restricted the number of jeeps to 80 per day, while the Minneria and Kaudulla National Parks will accept 50 jeeps per day. The maximum number of visitors in a jeep has been limited to 5. Meanwhile, the fully recovered COVID-19 patients in the country have exceeded to 70%. 548 patients are undergoing further hospitalized treatment. Today, 12 persons were tested positive for the virus. They are all returnees from overseas. According to the report issued by the Epidemiology Unit, as at 10 a.m. today, within the past 24 hours, 55 persons have been discharged from their respective hospitals upon recovering fully. Thereby, amongst the total number of COVID-19 infected patients reported in the country, the number of fully recovered patients as at today stands at 1,342. This accounts to 70.59%. Patients undergoing further hospitalized treatment account for 28.82%. 11 COVID-19 deaths have been reported in the country so far, which is a 0.57%. Meanwhile, yesterday, 5 new confirmed cases were reported and all of them are Navy personnel.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa states that the Lotus Tower project should be modernized into a productive investment in line with high standards and vested with the country. At a discussion held today, the President instructed the respective officials to begin raising awareness amongst local and foreign businessmen on investment plans to be launched parallel to the project. The discussion was held at the President's office with officials of the Lotus Tower project and the Sri Lanka Telecommunications Regulatory Commission this morning. The President stated that parallel to the project, local and foreign investors should be given the opportunity to invest in the facilities listed to be opened at the tower, including restaurants, shopping malls, fun games and other such facilities, whilst traditional concepts should also be encouraged. The interior plans of the premises can be implemented after investors of the respective projects put forward their creative designs and these are approved. The President further stated that the opportunity needs to be provided for both foreign tourists as well as the local general public to enjoy visiting the Lotus Tower. The issues that were faced thus far in the implementation of the Lotus Tower project were also discussed at length. The objective is to resolve all issues and vest the project with the public in the first half of next year. The discussion was also attended by Presidential Secretary P.B. Jayasundara, Chief Presidential Advisor Lalit Veeratunga, Defence Secretary Retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne, Director General of the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission Osanda Senanayake, and Chief Advisor to the Lotus Tower project Retired Major General Prasad Samarasinghe.
As the President has emphasized that crimes operated from prisons by underworld leaders and drug traffickers should be stopped immediately, special search operations are being conducted in prisons these days. At a meeting with the prison officials recently, the President stated that specific information has been received that many of the crimes occurring in the country and large-scale drug trafficking is being operated from within the prisons. Tushar Rupavahini, who was appointed as the new Commissioner General of Prisons, assumed duties on the 8th of this month. Under the directives of the new Prisons Commissioner General, all prisons were subjected to search operations and information relating to drug trafficking has been surfacing. Recently, in the search operation conducted in the Negombo prison, 61 telephones and several prohibited devices were discovered. Last Saturday, several equipment, including a refrigerator, were found in 2 cells of the prison. As a part of the continuous operations underway, a suspect was arrested by the police today when he attempting to smuggle drugs to the inmates of the Variapalli prison. 5 mobile phones and several other items were also seized by the police. The suspect was reportedly arrested at the level crossing at the Ganewata railway station, and in the altercation with the police, 1 police officer had sustained injuries. The suspect will be produced in court tomorrow.
And that's all the stories we have for you tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at the very same time. Good night.